Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Nostalgia Bait. I am Ace Creeper, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Cooper Britton.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I had to do it. I was sort of trying to think of something, and I was like,
yeah, it makes sense.
Let's use the old YouTube channel name. Let's bring it back for one final outing. Welcome to this Ace Creeper video. It's not podcast slash,
yeah. Welcome to Ace Creeper without Ace Creeper and without the video form.
We're talking about Doctor Who today,
yeah,
which is why that's appropriate. I did Doctor Who on YouTube for many years. We talked about that in a previous episode, so we're not going to go too much about that. But we're going to be talking about Doctor Who in general today, because this is going out on the second week of May, and it is Doctor Who this weekend. Doctor Who is back this weekend for the first full season since 2021.
Is it?
Crazy.
God, is it 3 years?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my
well, 2.5.
God.
But yeah, since a full series.
Jesus.
Yeah. Very,
it was that
exciting,
long.
Yeah.
Crikey.
So today we're going to talk about, our memories with Doctor Who a little bit, how we got into it, the classic question, who's your Doctor, what's your first Doctor Who memory, and then talk about the show recently, the quality of that, and the specials, and then up and coming with the brand new series starring Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson. I'm buzzing for it. I mean, that's no...
I am as well.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for it.
I feel like
as well.
I'm interested to talk to you about Doctor Who, because I feel like it's something we've kind of avoided a little bit with this podcast so far, because I've done a lot of Doctor Who stuff on my YouTube and talk about it quite a lot, so I was kind of keen to sort of establish a dynamic with this podcast first before devolving into just Doctor Who. But I thought, it's time now. It's time. There's a new series on the horizon. Let's talk about it. So that's where we're at. And yeah, so I mean, the classic question, let's start it off with. I mean, what is your first memory with Doctor Who? How did you get into it?
I don't remember how I got into it.
Do you have a memory, like a first sort of...
I have like a prominent memory.
Sure.
I remember watching David Tennant as a kid. I remember, but that was when I was really young.
Okay.
And I remember obviously all the Whitman Angel stuff. I remember being petrified, but I remember being into it before. Like David Tennant's when I remember being into it, because I had the sonic screwdriver, I had all the figures and everything. But I think my the main memory I have was I got to see when they did the press screening for 11th Hour.
This is the same. You bring this up.
It's the same thing every time.
All right, well, I'll drop in the Series 11 one. It's fine.
But this is the thing, though. It's like I remember being into it, and I remember being a fan, and I remember I was a really big fan for David Tennant, but my memories now looking back is all with Matt Smith. It's all of Matt Smith stuff that I remember the most, and it's all the stuff that stuck with me the most. And I've gone back and watched probably not all of it, but I've watched the majority of it here and there over however many years it's been now. So
I mean, New Who.
Yeah. No,
you don't mean classic. Yeah, let's just specify that.
No, let's just. So
you're more of a sort of like you're a sort of new era fan. You've not sort of delved into the sort of.
I don't even think I've seen any of classic.
I
genuinely don't think I've seen any of it. Whereas I could probably comfortably say I've seen all of New Who. Whereas
that's
classic,
fine, I think that's the whole thing with it. It's like you don't need to have seen classic Who, in the same sort of way. This is one thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about it as well, because there's a whole big controversy with the new series in terms of it's like numbering, because we're going to go to season 1 here, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people kind of up in arms about that, but we did that with classic Who, and we'll talk about that in due course. But I think it's not essential viewing, classic Who. You don't need to watch it to understand the new series, nor should you. But it's something
to attempt to watch all of that just for the new series.
I've seen a decent amount, but I've not even seen half of classic Who, and that's as a proper Doctor Who fan as well, who owns all the box sets. I still haven't seen half
all of the box sets.
No, I haven't. I just I'll buy them. They'll sit on my shelf, and I'll not open them or listen to it, which is probably crazy, to be honest. But I'm aware of that. It's just the time to sit down and watch, a 6-part serial from the 70s. It's like it's the time to sit down and the dedication to do that, and I will eventually, every now and then, tick off a story that I've never seen before, and I'll probably love it. But I don't have the intention of going back immediately and watching a thing. The only thing I'd want to do is be able to watch it from the beginning and just binge it, right, and go through from the very beginning to the very end. The problem with that is, of course, a lot of the 60s stuff is missing.
Yeah, I know that. There's a lot of stuff missing.
But honestly,
it just disappeared. Yeah,
and also An Unearthly Child is just not great. Bar the very first story of that, the iconic one. As soon as they get to all the caveman stuff, that just becomes very dull. The Daleks is cool.
Yeah, Daleks are always cool, though.
And that was like a great
Nearly
introduction.
always,
And then you've got,
Yeah.
but then it disappears, and you can't really watch it in order
Yeah.
as much as you'd like to, unless you want to watch telesnaps. But that is beyond me. I can't sit and watch telesnap reconstructions. I don't know if you're aware of.
Did they do this for the original Toymaker episode, or is there some stuff?
So what this is basically at the time because it's the 60s. There's no like playback or recording or anything like that. The BBC would have their film reels. They would film it on there. They would edit it on there, and then they'd put it on TV and they'd junk it.
Oh, really?
And they distributed it to other countries. They made copies of the reels and sent them out to different countries to air it on their local radio stations. And then they were told that once you've aired it, junk it, because you're not supposed to keep it.
Yeah.
But what they would also have at the same time is that I can't remember who it was. There's some great documentaries and videos done about it. Check out Josh Snare's YouTube channel. He does a lot of great stuff on there about old telesnap stuff. There's a guy who used to take photos, and there's a few people like this who used to take professional photos aimed perfectly at the TV screen, and would take screenshots basically of the TV, but with no like fancy software. Would literally aim a camera at the TV and take photos, and that would be done and paid for by the BBC to some extent, and actors. So actors who want images for their portfolio, right? And they want portfolio pieces. I was in Doctor Who. Well, prove it. Here's a telesnap photo that I paid for. So what people have done is, because the audio recordings still exist somewhere, they've put the audio recordings against all of the existing telesnaps.
Oh, really?
It's basically what we did for our Jewel of the Fates script read through, right?
Yeah, basically.
It's just the dialogue track and then
with
images.
The art. Yeah. It's a good idea. For not having the episode, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's nice to still have at least something, isn't it?
It's great, and they're officially released, and over time we'll get animations, but they take a long time. Anyway, God, get away from Classic Who. This is what happens when you get me talking about Doctor Who. I could just waffle for ages.
I can tell already.
I know, it's difficult.
Straight
me,
in, but it's... Yeah. So where did you start with Doctor Who? Because I feel like yours must be... like, not calling you old, but it's a long time, and it's...
I'm a year and a half older than you. But that's nothing.
But I seem like you got into Doctor Who like
way before. Yeah.
Yeah, like
100%.
Like we couldn't have been like same. Obviously, a year and a half difference. Like we couldn't have been the same age and got into it at the same time. I must have been quite late.
But I was 9 when Matt Smith started. So you would have been what, 7.5?
7. Yeah, 7.5.
So that's quite young, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then you go back a bit further than that. So for me, my first memory of Doctor Who was Dalek.
Yeah.
The Chris Eccleston episode. I remember my dad watching it, and I remember seeing the Dalek levitate up the stairs. And I was terrified. It was killing people. It was terrifying, and I ran up the stairs and I hated it. I didn't watch it. My dad was watching it on TV, and I was shitting myself, and I didn't like it. And then a year later, my dad got the 2 box sets, series 1 and series 2, Eccleston and Tennant's series.
Yeah.
And basically just sat me down and watched it. We watched it before school. We watched it after school. Because he knew I'd like it. I think my dad grew up with Tom Baker and loved that. And I think lost interest towards the 80s, like late 80s with Colin Baker and stuff. And he wanted to watch the new series, Chris Eccleston, proper drama. And he watched it and thought, George will really like this. How right you were.
How right he was, yeah. Here we are, however many years later.
And introduced me to it in the same way he introduced me to Star Wars, in the same way he tried to introduce me to Star Trek. Didn't work, though.
Yes.
But with Doctor Who, I remember, so we watched it, series 1 and 2, back to back, which is why Eccleston is a core memory, but not he's not my Doctor, because I watched that so quickly that by the time that year came round, I'd watched both those series, and Tenant was the Doctor, right?
Yeah.
So the first episode I probably saw on transmission, live, or at least around the time, I guess was probably Runaway Bride around that time, but live, like probably Smith and Jones eventually. Live.
Yeah.
Series 3. Which was great. I have so many cool memories about that. I mean, there's photos of me. I don't remember exactly when, right? But I know that I watched series 1 and 2 back to back, and I know that in Christmas 2006, which was the same year that series 2 came out on TV, I was playing with Doctor Who figures under the Christmas tree in a photo. So I'm like, there's a gap in there somewhere in the summer where I watched both of those series. And then after that, it was just a yearly ritual, basically. I so many core memories. I remember when David Tennant regenerated, I was a wreck.
Wait, I remember watching that episode,
Rough.
when it aired. Yeah, I remember.
That was tough. As a kid,
Yeah,
it was
because
tough.
I remember Matt Smith regenerating and be like, I'll never watch this. He's bad. He's awful. Don't like him. Like literally, the
And he's
however many
pretty
seconds
much
he's in the
your
episode.
doctor.
And he is. Yeah, I as much as like you're saying that you don't remember, like there's photos of me and I know that I had David Tennant's sonic screwdriver. I had the laser screwdriver.
Yeah.
The Masters. So I clearly watched those episodes growing up. I just don't have memories of them.
Yeah.
So when I say that, I would argue more that Matt Smith's my doctor because I remember it more and it had more of an impact on me and it's had more of a lasting impression on me.
It makes sense.
Over the
Like,
years.
I think that's that everyone has their doctor. For me, it was Tenant. It always will be.
Yeah.
And I think it sticks over time. And obviously, I did YouTube and all that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm a fan of the show, whatever form it takes. For me, Doctor Who has that same sort of appeal as Star Wars, right? I will watch it and I will love it no matter what. I don't care how good or bad it is, objectively or critically. For me, it's a great show and I love it. And it's even better when it's good because then you can justify it to people and go, this is amazing. Like when Andor came out for Star Wars, it was like, look how good this is. And hopefully I'll be doing that with season 1.
It's like, I sat through this so I can enjoy this, like that kind of thing. Well, that's the thing with Doctor Who as well, like, especially the more recent years, I've watched literally everything.
Really?
I watched all of Jodie's stuff as it was releasing.
Really?
Like religiously, like
So
every
I wasn't
week
sure if you
religiously.
dropped off at one point or whether you...
No. For Jodie's, I've literally watched it all, but like on release as well.
Because
I even watched
for me, it's
Sea
like a
Devils
ritual.
on release or whatever it was called.
I mean, yeah, regrettably me too. That's one of the...
Yeah.
Every now and then, every few years, there's a Doctor Who episode which comes out and I'm like, this is bad. And and you know, one of the first ones for me with that was In the Forest of the Night.
Which episode was that again?
Peter Capaldi, exactly.
Oh.
Not that, no, that was not, by the way, that's not me implying Peter Capaldi was bad. It was just more of a thing of like, you can't remember it exactly, and it was a Peter Capaldi story. 2 separate comments in the span of a second there. Peter Capaldi's great. One of my favourite doctors. I love him.
Easily.
He's fucking amazing. And then the girl who died, the sort of Viking story with the girl from Game of Thrones in, she died, and then the Doctor remembers why he picked this face, and David Tennant has a flashback and all that sort of thing. That's when I watched that and I just felt nothing, and I thought, oh, this is bad. And then I got that again with Legend of the Sea Devils, and I was like, oh boy, this is...
Yeah.
If there was issues with that, though, I'd love to be a fly on the wall with that, because with that episode, there was so many production stuff behind the scenes that made that mess up. There were only supposed to be 2 specials, not 3. So you feel like Legend of the Sea Devils was probably a last-minute addition. They did Eve of the Daleks, was it called? The New Year special? And then Power of the Doctor.
Power of the Doctor was phenomenal.
But then the BBC was like, oh, we want like a centenary special.
We want an extra.
So that was the regeneration one. And then they were like, well, we need an extra episode. Did the Sea Devils, great job. But my God, it was messy. It was just all over the place. And I think at the time I was like, this is fine, but I just can't remember much of what happens. And I've watched it like 2-3 times and I just can't
seen it once,
get it. It's just too much. The stuff with the Doctor and the Eyes is interesting, but it's just not enough to salvage the episode. I know it's like...
Same with, it's a shame with Jodie's stuff because I really enjoyed Jodie as a Doctor, but half of her stuff, bar like her first season... I really enjoyed.
I think Series 11
first season
was great.
Was phenomenal.
People slag off Series 11. I think it's great because there's no like classic monsters. It's quite refreshing.
Yeah, because we were good friends, and I remember. Well, you remember. I was on the fence about Jodie. I was in the camp of I'm not a massive fan of having a female Doctor. I was one of those guys.
Yeah, converted now.
But and this is what I was going to say. But so first episode comes out. Great, really enjoyed it. It was Ghost Monument that got me. Ghost Monument.
People don't really like Ghost Monument. I quite like it.
I really, really like it. And I've watched it again, like going back and watching it. Honestly, I remember sitting watching it, and it was near the end of the episode where I was like, it was by the end of the episode, I was like, I am sold. Like, this is going to be amazing. Like, I'm really excited for this now. Because I was on the fence the whole time, even the first episode airing.
The visuals,
it took for Ghost Monument.
And I thought the music and I thought the scale of the show in Series 11 felt much greater. And some things they can't help, right? Series 13 was filmed in COVID, and it did an amazing job with Flux, given that it was filmed in lockdown restrictions, like in the height of lockdown restrictions as well. So fair play to them. They were really... They not smashed it out of the park for that. I don't really love Flux that much. It's very all over the place.
I'm not a massive fan.
But given the circumstances it was filmed, I'll give it benefit of the doubt. Series 12, I think, has some good bits, but it is very like lore heavy and like returning things and shock value moments. And I'm like, that's cool. But a few years after, you go, nah. with Series 11, it's one that has aged amazingly for me.
Oh,
I
it's
go back and
beautiful.
I'm like, that's such a great series. Some of it's not amazing. There's definitely things I would change, but it's probably the more the strongest vision for a series I felt with Who until maybe now, season 1.
I'm very excited for the new season.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing as well. We obviously, when we were coming towards the end of Jodie's era, we were coming into the we knew that Jodie was leaving, Chris Chibnall was leaving, and we heard that obviously Ncuti Gatwa was going to play the Doctor. And then David Tennant and Catherine Tate were coming back, as well as Russell T Davies. And it was going to be handed off to Bad Wolf. There's a lot of stuff going on. When you watched Power of the Doctor, did you suspect going in that we'd see David Tennant at the end?
I remember there was rumors going around. I didn't expect it. I truly, going into that episode, I did not know how it was going to end.
No, me
I
neither.
knew it was going to be a regeneration.
Which, can I say, I love that. I don't want to know when a regeneration comes around. I'd love to not know anything. Obviously, that can't happen. You need to film stuff ahead. But I think this was the best way of doing it, where you announce that Ncuti Gatwa was playing the Doctor, and you announce David Tennant's coming back, but you don't confirm either way what order or anything's happening. So it's until she regenerated, and I saw the tie, I was like, I did not know who she was going to turn into.
I remember being out of my seat, screaming.
Oh my god!
Because it was because my dad's a massive David Tennant fan of Doctor 10th Doctor, and I messaged him being like, "It's Jodie's regeneration. There are rumors that it's going to be David Tennant," and then they watched it with the rumors. My dad was sending me texts being like, "Oh my god!" Sent a photo of himself in front of the TV, being like, "Oh my god!" That kind of thing.
Oh, if you can find that photo.
I'll try and find the photo. It's a proper Renaissance. It was like a Renaissance moment. And this is not to slander Jodie or anything.
No, not at all.
I loved her. She was great. But it was such a nice moment, and I think a lot of older fans come back to watch it, especially with the rumors. It's quite cool having those rumors, having the whispers of you hear through the grapevine. Oh, it might be this person. It might be that person.
Yeah, that was the fun of it. It wasn't the fact that it was David Tennant. Obviously, that helps for me, but I think it was the mystery of it, the fact that I didn't know who she was going to turn into, and then the clothes change, and I recognised the costume from the filming, and I was like, oh my god. And then it's him, and he does the thing where he's like, I know these teeth. He looks at his hands, he says the what thing, and then I just loved that, and I think that was I watched that in America as well.
Did you?
Yeah, because I was in Florida on holiday at the time.
That's quite cool.
Which is crazy, because it came out about 2:00 in the afternoon for the US. Right.
Wow.
So and I was on holiday, we were out. I had to just shut off everything all day. And we went into the evening, we managed to find a way to watch it. We watched it in the evening, hours and hours and hours after anyone else had seen it.
Yeah.
And then to watch that and be like, oh. The biggest surprise for me was seeing all the old Doctors back in the sort of thing, like David Bradley and Colin Baker and Peter Davison.
Yeah.
And Sylvester McCoy and Paul McGann.
It was
that
great
was
episode.
Great, yeah.
I absolutely loved it.
What it was kind of... It was what people, I think, wanted Wild Blue Yonder to be. But I disagree in that sense. I think the Centenary Special worked on its own as a great celebration of the show's history and mainly the classic era, bringing back old companions, a lot of old references in there. Ace smashes up a Dalek with a baseball bat, classic stuff like that. Old Doctors, companion reuniting, really, really great stuff. And we had all that. And then the 60th could be its own story without having to feel the need to bring back old Doctors and stuff, because the Centenary just did that. And that's great that we got that. I wish, in hindsight now, knowing that there's no modern Doctors in the 60th, I kind of wish they'd managed to get Capaldi or Smith in those scenes.
Yeah.
How amazing would that have been? I mean, it was just not going to happen. Capaldi's gone all Eccleston on us a little bit, and he's sort of just which, by the way, is not a bad thing. Eccleston has his own problems with the show, completely valid. Capaldi has his own sort of mystique with the character, where he's in his mind, I don't know if you've heard him talking about this.
I've seen a few interviews of him,
I think it's beautiful the way he phrases it, and he always sort of says it in this sort of elegant way, which is to him, it's not a role in a show. As a kid, he watched The Doctor and whatever, and they were out there somewhere. He didn't want it to... He said if he's going to come back, it's not going to be as a cameo. It has to be, it has to mean something. Yeah, and for him, he prefers the idea that his Doctor is just out there somewhere. As he was, not now him coming back. And because if he comes back, then it's Peter Capaldi playing... As the actor playing the role, as opposed to him being the Doctor. And I think that's an important distinction, and I love that. It does mean that we don't see Capaldi again as the Doctor, but I would love that. And Smith, I'm surprised they didn't at least. I mean, maybe we
Smith's
don't.
a busy man though at the moment.
He is. That's true. It is, but he's
doing House of Dragons now.
He's always asked about it.
Always do it.
He's always asked about it. Though. He's always asked about it, and he always says he'd do it. But
he always says he wants to play the Master, which I would. As much as it probably wouldn't work.
I just look. I love the idea of this. The best time to do that would have been with Jodie and Sasha, because they had such a great dynamic. They had the whole story set up in Power of the Doctor. They didn't do anything with it, really. I would have loved to see it. I don't want to see them bring back all... This is the whole thing, and this is my sort of anti-Doctor Who fan moment. This is just me being like, I want Doctor Who now to be a good show and to surprise me. I'm a fan, right? Yeah. Give me a Master reveal and I'll lose my mind, right? 100%. But on paper, I would rather not see the Master for the next 5 years. I don't want to see them. Like, how many? You tell me now. How many episodes or stories have we seen where the Master and the Cybermen team up in the last 10 years?
So this is hot, kind of part of the reason why I'm on the fence with this argument. Is I either want them to do one of two things. I either want to have Sacha Dhawan's Master again. Because I think he needs more time.
That should happen.
I wholeheartedly, like I would say with my chest, he is my favourite Master. I genuinely think he is, obviously not including the classics, the main three, or the three that I know of, so John Sim, Missy, and then Sacha Dhawan. He's my favourite. Like, and I loved John. I love John Sim.
Sim's great, but
and Missy's phenomenal. Sacha Dhawan is just like every episode he's in. His introduction is stunning. It completely caught me off guard. And I would love to see him have more. I would love to see him be kept on as the Master. If they don't want to do that, and I don't think they're going to do that because it's supposed to be like a brand new. I don't think they're going to want to bring something over from this older generation now.
They referenced him in the 60th. They've done it, and I think Russell said that the Master is on ice now for like a few years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're not going to do Sacha Dhawan, because I don't think you could do 5 years and then bring him back. I don't think it makes sense unless you bring him back to then regenerate or something like that.
If they're gonna do a new Master,
you need a new Master.
Don't bother.
Years,
I don't bother. Make it a new Time Lord. As far as I'm concerned, you've got a lot of Time Lord concepts from classic Who, which have not been utilised in New Who, which would be great. And I have a feeling we might get one or two in this series. There's a lot of theories, and we'll talk about the theories in a bit, but there's that whole discussion. If you're going to do a new recast of the Master, don't bother doing the Master. Do the Rani.
Yes.
Or do the meddling monk.
Rani,
that would be cool.
Yeah.
Who's only appeared like once in Hartnell's era. That's great. There's so many other Time Lords. Omega as well would be a really cool one, but I don't know how that would really go down. But again, there's a lot more room in this new era for sort of gods and goblins and ghouls and stuff, and I kind of like that. I think with the Master, I agree. But again, that's what I'm saying about it. It's not even just the Master for me. It's like the Cybermen, the Daleks, right? How many times have we had the same crossover? Because like in Series 8, in Dark Water and Death in Heaven, and we have Missy teaming up with the Cybermen, that was unique, that was new, that was cool, right?
I was going to say, I think one of the reasons Missy works so well is we went an entire Doctor generation with no Master.
That's also
true. I think we went from John Sim all the way through Matt Smith with no Master. And then Missy comes in, completely different gender. It is really from left field.
Yeah, but we don't need a Master every Doctor. This is the other
I'm
thing.
This is me saying that you don't like. I'm not saying that we need Master every Doctor, but I'm saying to give it time. Giving it time is what causes these more impactful moments. I did not expect Jodie to have a Master coming off the back of Missy.
No, not at all.
I did not expect that. But then there's also an argument of that's why it worked. But then now it's like, okay, I'm prepared for it, so
don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah. I'd rather you subvert my expectations and give it another 5 years or however many years it's going to be, and then do something completely different. Even do like a drop-in one, so it's in between some Master regenerations.
They should take a page out of Classic Who's book a little bit there, because Classic Who with the Master, they tried really to only have one incarnation. They had Roger Delgado in the third Doctor era. He appeared pretty much through the 2-3 seasons that he was in, and then the actor Roger Delgado actually died in real life. And then, being very morbid, the Doctor Who team decided to bring back the Master in the form of a sort of rotting skull skeleton, which is quite strange.
Yeah.
But I...
Wasn't he a cat at one point as well? Or something like that?
He was well. That's the other thing. So he became a sort of skeleton, and then he sort of took over someone else's body. So he sort of the idea was Roger Delgado was the last incarnation. So then he degenerated into a skeleton, who then took over someone's body, who then grew older, and then got possessed by a cat species. And then died properly by getting killed by the Daleks, and then became a snake, and then inhabited someone else's body, who then properly died. And then he died. And then if we include Big Finish, he sort of was bald and then died again and then gets resurrected as part of the Time War.
Yes, I remember.
As like a child, becomes Derek Jacobi, who then he opens the watch and forgets that he's the Master, and then meets David Tennant, and we have John Sim, Missy, Sacha Dhawan. It's like, the way they did it in Classic Who was like, they tried to keep it as one Master. And Anthony Ainley was that second one, is they had Roger Delgado just with the Third Doctor, right? And then they had the sort of Skeleton Master. But Anthony Ainley was the Master his Master was introduced on the Fourth Doctor's second to last story, The Keeper of Traken. And then in Logopolis, when the Fourth Doctor regenerates into Peter Davison, big moment, new Master. The Master goes throughout Peter Davison's era, throughout Colin Baker's era, meets Sylvester McCoy in his final story in Classic Who. I want that. If we see the Master again, I want it to be one that we know. I don't want it to be a new one. I see the idea.
Oh, really?
I see the idea of them doing, like, there sort of has to be like an antithesis for the Doctor, right? It has to be, John Sim has to sort of emulate Tennant's kind of vibe, and he does.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Missy has to be the opposite to Capaldi. She's Scottish. And then you've got, like, two northern, like a doctor and a northern doctor and a northern master, you know. The first Master to pronounce it Master and not Master. And then you have that.
I never even thought about that.
Well, it's true, yeah. I'm the Master. I love it though, but he's great.
Yeah.
You don't need like an antithesis all the time for the Doctor, and I think that you can have that character. Sacha Dhawan could very easily play opposite Tennant, opposite Smith, opposite Shooty, opposite anyone.
I think even like from the episodes that we saw Sacha Dhawan, I think you see so much range of his Master.
100%.
You see him be the calm, collected, like the spy. You see him be the Spy Master, the calm, collected. Everything's perfectly calculated, and then you see him in Power of the Doctor. He's absolutely batshit crazy. Like he's lost the plot.
But that's the thing. He's got that range. He's a great actor.
It's
who
perfect.
Can do that, and I think he could play against other. And I'd love to see that. You know, the Master should be someone who's desperate to keep a hold of their life, not just throw it away in a random regeneration. They should be desperate. They should keep their form and keep it as long as they can.
Yeah.
That was the whole point in Classic Who that I liked, and that was a sort of big character thing for the Master, and they kind of lost that in New Who a little bit, which is fine. But
that would be phenomenal. Give it a few years, and then
it's Sacha Dhawan again.
Sacha Dhawan turns up.
Or it's like Missy. You know, I don't care. So long as it's someone we've already seen, I don't mind.
Yeah,
I'd love them to go completely left field and bring in like Derek Jacobi. Great.
Yeah, like someone
do
completely
that.
rogue.
Or like just someone replaying Anthony Ainley's Master or something. You know, recast, because it's not the first time Doctor Who's done that. We know David Bradley obviously played the first Doctor. There is rumours in season 1. And I should say very strongly, rumours, and I don't personally believe these rumours because I think I've just seen it like yesterday, and I was like, that is surely bollocks. That apparently they've recast a second Doctor, which is interesting.
Really?
Apparently, but I don't fucking know what that's about or why they would do that. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, it's true. But it's with the thing with the Master. It's like I remember like a little while ago, maybe like 6 months ago, I went down a proper Doctor Who rabbit hole, and I watched like the entire. I think I watched your entire storyline, Doctor history.
Oh God!
Which I've watched about 2 or 3 times now.
Oh wow! I need to remake
one. Of like a Master one, which was like the Master's entire storyline. A river. I went around a proper river song rabbit hole. I watched the entire like history of River Songs, her entire story, and then watched every River Song scene in order of like her storyline order, if that makes sense. So basically watched all of Matt Smith's stuff in reverse.
Love that. That's cool though, isn't it? Yeah.
It's cool.
You see stuff in chronological order. Do you not feel like that finale, that goodbye in Name of the Doctor, where she's like a ghost or whatever, and he sees her, and isn't that one of the like best moments in Doctor Who, and no one ever talks about it?
It's like watching. I came out of watching this video, like that being the end of it, I was like, I was literally like, what the fuck? Like, it's crazy.
Like, that's after the library, and then you see that as a proper goodbye for Matt Smith's Doctor and her as well. And the music is just... That's the one scene that could probably make me cry on command, because it's so good.
River Song is phenomenal. It's one of my favourite characters, easily.
I like River Song, but I'm sort of like, I don't want to see her again now.
No, let me preference.
Let me be clear.
I love her as a character. Her story is so perfect. And obviously they do the novels and they've done some Big Finish stuff.
Oh, don't, please.
Her story, her arc is perfect. It has a clear beginning / end and a clear end / beginning, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, that's good.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense, and I love it for that. I think it's one of those things where I love when they can set up a character years in advance, and that's what I love what they're doing with the new era.
It was so well done
as well.
Yeah,
and I think let's talk about that, because we're sort of halfway through. I think we need to sort of talk about what's coming up, because obviously we got the 60th specials last year. I think everyone said everything we want to say about that. I don't really know your opinions too much on them, so I'd love to know that. For me,
phenomenal.
Wild Blue Yonder at the top, then the Giggle, then a little bit below Starbeast.
Starbeast was the first one, then it was Wild Blue Yonder. Starbeast was with Beep the Meep.
Yeah.
Wild Blue Yonder was on the spaceship with the clones.
The no things. The not things.
And then the Giggle was the final one.
The Toy Maker.
I think it probably goes... I reckon Giggle 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really fucking enjoyed that episode. And I also all the shit completely caught me off guard, and it was, and I enjoyed seeing Shooty and everything like that. Giggle 1, probably Starbeast.
You're joking. You can't put Wild Blue Yonder last.
No, this is not me. I'm not saying Wild Blue Yonder's bad, though.
No. I get that. But Wild Blue Yonder is unreal. That's like got to be top Doctor Who for me. I know, for me, top of the three. Not only that, one of the best episodes. Period. Like full stop. Easy. It's.
To be fair, I've seen Starbeast twice, so it might
watch Wild Blue Yonder tonight in the dark. I watched Wild Blue Yonder for the first time on a projector in my bedroom at 2:00 in the morning, and it is one of the best experiences I've ever had watching Doctor Who.
Oh, really?
It was unreal. Like because no one knew what was about the episode going into it. Everyone was like, could be cameos, could be not.
Yeah.
It is so beautiful. The only thing I don't like is the big CGI space that they're in the middle of it. That looks a bit naff, right? But everything else, as soon as they're on practical sets, all the dialogue, all the character moments, all that, it's a story that could only work now with characters that were once Doctor and Companion, leave for 15 years for Donna, about fucking 5 million for the Doctor, quite literally, and they come back together and they have to test how well they know each other.
Yeah.
Genius. We deal with the flux, we deal with all that, and we have...
Oh, shit, I forgot about that.
And we have these phenomenal creatures who try and mimic the Doctor. We have these beautiful moments. For me, it's the bit where they first are on the spaceship and they look out the window and there's nothing. And they're like, we are like on the edge of creation. Like no one should be able to say. I'm getting goosebumps, me just saying it. So like, I know it's good. Like that's when a concept is so strong that you're like, oh, that's like frightening. It was like Midnight level, really, for me, where it's like not like scary like Midnight, but like,
but it's
isolating,
like
harrowing. Yeah, and the ending. Oh my god, the music and the ending, everything. They could have just had the TARDIS appear and save the day, and everything's fine. The fact the Doctor got it wrong. This test after 15 years or whatever apart, they didn't recognise each other. The Doctor didn't recognise the real Donna. He couldn't do it, and he picked the wrong one. And the music and the acceptance from Donna, who is sleep deprived, like starving probably, is never going to see her family again. And there's a moment of acceptance in Catherine Tate's performance as she sees the sort of slow explosion come nearer and nearer. Oh my god, that episode is fucking amazing. Like it's so good. Whereas like I think
will have to rewatch
the Starbeast is for me messy. I think it's a very all over the place and it tries to do a lot of things. I think the Dr. Donna stuff could have had so much more emotional weight. but it didn't, and that's fine. They did it in a. I'm going to do a review on YouTube about this, so I'm not going to waffle about it too much. But I think it's messy. I think they could have done it better, but I wouldn't sacrifice the other two specials to make the Star Beast better. I think they had to get all of that out of the way and done in that episode for Wild Beyond to be as good as it was, and for the giggle to be as good as it was. And the giggle's great as well. It's got a lot going on, is the thing.
I love Neil Patrick Harris.
He's great.
His Toymaker is absolutely
so good,
phenomenal. The scene when they're in like it's like the like toy space kind of thing, where he's doing the card tricks and the doll before.
Well, that's all right then.
That speech that he gives when he's dealing the cards, about like playing chase with a god and that monologue is phenomenal. But it's like it's amazing writing, but Neil Patrick Harris takes it to another level with his performance.
Do you know as well that the way Russell wrote that is he wrote in the German accent, as in like he wrote in the broken English. No, he wrote it as like the ball was the worst game
Z-E, like,
ever. And he wrote it like that, ever being played.
I think
he's great.
I enjoyed the ending. I liked how it was a twist.
I liked the bi-generation.
I can't remember what it was called. The bi-generation. That was it.
I liked it. A lot of people didn't like it because they read a leak on Reddit about a year before and decided they made their mind up there and then. I think I waited. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I think it was different. And how exciting was it to see Shooty and David on screen together?
Yeah, and I think I quite like the position I'm in with Doctor Who, as I don't see this stuff. I had no idea that there was a bi-generation.
This is great because we're gonna obviously about to talk about season 1 up and coming. Yeah. We're going to talk about a lot of things that you probably have no idea about. I'm going to try not to ruin stuff because I don't think there's anything that will ruin it, but it's more just theories and interesting stuff.
During the specials, there was a brief period where like my Twitter dipped into Doctor Who Twitter, and I was like, I would get me out because it was just like spoilers and like leaks and stuff like that. I was like, no, just get me.
There is like a rabbit hole. There is a huge rabbit hole, and obviously you've got season 1 coming up. What did you think of Shooty Gatwa as the Doctor, and in the Giggle and the Church on Ruby Road?
I enjoyed. I thought it was really good in the Giggle. The Church on Ruby Road. Did I see it twice?
I've seen it 3 times now, and I have to say, it's something about it doesn't quite sit with me. But when I watch it, I'm like, this is a great episode of Doctor Who. But after the fact, I'm not like, oh. I think it's maybe like the Goblins for me. I think it's like not a super big threat in my mind. Like whereas like Wow Blue Yonder's like incredible, and the Giggle has like a really memorable villain.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's Christmassy. It works.
I watched it twice, Church on Ruby Road, and I think it was on the second time through I was like, okay. The first time through I wasn't fully sold on it, but the second time around I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm actually like, I'm on board with this 100%. And I'm ready for this. I enjoy Ruby Sunday. I think she's good, a nice companion.
She's great so far,
I like Shooty. I think he's good. I think he brings a new energy.
Shooty is just on it. Like I just feel like everything I see of him, like especially with the clips that have been coming out towards series 1, I am sold. There was the speech that he gave in that
the
clip that was released, which I'll read out, but he performed it.
Taxes,
it's just perfect. It's perfect writing for the Doctor, and it's perfect for things. He was like, I don't have a people, I don't have a home, but I don't have a job either. I don't have a boss or taxes or rent or bills to pay. I don't have a purpose or a cause or a mission, but I have freedom. His delivery of that is so magical, and you know what? It made me feel like I'm like, oh god, like this is like, you know, like series 5 of Doctor Who, like Matt Smith, that fairy tale aesthetic. I kind of, I don't resent the idea. And the music is gorgeous. I don't love like, I mean, I love pretty much all of Doctor Who, and I loved it in this era, but I'm kind of glad we're getting out of the era of this whole lonely god aesthetic, this whole like, he is almighty and powerful and known by thousands of planets and civilizations. I kind of like him just being like a space nomad and kind of just traveling. There's a little thing in a mini-sode in series 5, which with Matt Smith and Karen Gillan, where he's like, you know, why do I take people with me? Because she's like, oh, you take people with you because you fancy them, and he's like, no, I take people with it because I can't see it anymore. You know, you make all the time and space your back garden. What do you have? A back garden. But when you see it, I see it, and I'm like, oh, that's so like magical, and it makes so much sense for that character, and I'm like, that is just a beautiful way of doing it. And I think Shooty,
I can hear Matt Smith saying it. My head's giving me goosebumps just thinking about it. Like, I just know how he would say it. Like,
I'm not going to do the impression. Don't worry.
I'm not asking you to. No. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to have Doctor Who again.
Yeah,
I'm ready to have it back. It fills me with confidence hearing that Disney are involved. Seeing the TARDIS.
Everyone has their opinions on this, and I think it's a good and bad thing. I think for me, it's like, oh god, it's a bit scary. But oh my god, like TARDIS in Disneyland.
Yeah, it's like it's TARDIS in Disneyland.
Shooty and Millie on Good Morning America and launching it in New York and all that sort of thing. I'm like, this is like a worldwide brand now, and Disney is gonna help with that, not only with budget but also to just promote the show. It's gonna have so much good promotion, and it already looks incredible. Like I'm already completely sold on it. I think they're sort of slowly transitioning it into that sort of international appeal again, which Doctor Who has had in the past. It hasn't necessarily lost, but I think it's making it more mainstream again, and being on a streaming platform like Disney Plus will help it with that, because it brings it into the modern age.
Doctor Who being on Disney Plus is wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy.
But I love it.
Even like everything on BBC iPlayer, like when they announced that, it was like, oh my god, like that was like when they announced it was partnered with Disney, and then they announced like the Disney project was like, oh yeah, cool, okay. And then when they were like, oh yeah, by the way, everything's going to be on BBC iPlayer and this stuff, I was like, okay, this is where you start to go like, okay, like we are now, this is no longer New Who. This is Doctor Who. This is going to have everything.
100%.
Everything is going to play. But and this isn't saying you have to watch everything, but this is like anything is on board now. Like anything can be used. Whereas with New Who, it was very picky choosy, I feel like, at some points. Whereas now, getting closer to I don't even know what the hell do you call this new generation.
It's right. So people are like sort of debating this. The whole season 1 thing. Let me rant a bit, because people are like, "Well, I'm still going to call it Series 14." Why? Because that's not what it's called. I get what you're saying. It's like, yep, that's Series 14, but it's the same reason we're not calling it Series 14. It's the same reason we're not calling it, I don't know, Season 42 from the classic series, right? It's because for the general audience, which is what the numbering is really for, not for diehard fans, it is for the general audience. It's to sort of normalize it, right? If you tell someone now, oh, you should watch this new series of Doctor Who, it's really good, you'd really like it, whole new start and everything, it's great, and they go, oh cool, which one do I watch, because there's like loads of it, I know, and you're like, oh yeah, just watch series 14. They're not good. They're in your mind, you go, oh, because Doctor Who's so unique, right? It changes the production every 5 years, it changes the main cast, crew, everything. So it's so unique in that respect that anyone who hasn't watched Doctor Who before won't get it. And they'll be like, so for example, if you said like a new American show, which is like a long running show, and you go, oh, it's great, series 14 is coming out now, you have to watch it. Makes it sound like, oh, I have to watch 1 to 13 to understand it. No, thank you, I'm not watching that shit.
Yeah.
Whereas doing it, oh, Doctor Who's back, it's kind of rebooting, it's a continuation. It's the same universe and everything, but it's like season 1, it's starting a new, brand new story. How much more appealing is that to a new audience?
Yeah, I like the fact that they promoted it as it's a fresh start. Mm-hmm. Like you can start here, and it will you won't be lost.
Doctor Who's needed that for a while. They tried that with the pilot in
Yeah.
series 10. They tried that with Jodie at the beginning of series 11. And they almost had it. They just didn't have that money behind it and the brand marketing that they wanted. I think they wanted to be what it is now. They had that vision, but just weren't quite there. And I feel like the new production team has completely brought that out, and I'm buzzing for it personally. I don't care what the hell it's called. Like, I will buy into it. I love it. I love the idea of it. Season 1
I quite like that.
Sounds good.
Series 1, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously
14th Doctor.
Yeah. What are we? I mean,
15th. Was he 15th?
15th.
He's 15th.
Yeah. David Tennant was 14.
David Tennant's 14th. Yeah.
And then obviously there's just loads of stuff for the new era. So what are you sort of thinking about what you've heard about the series so far? Have you heard much?
Not really. I mean,
so the first 2 episodes come out this week.
I've seen all the episode titles. Well, the ones I got announced ages ago. I couldn't name any of them off the top of my head. But
the first 2 episodes which are coming out this weekend, as of when the episode comes out.
Podcast comes out.
Space Babies and The Devil's Chord will be releasing this weekend.
Is the Devil's Chord the Beatles one?
The Beatles one.
Yeah.
Yes. And the cast list has been announced for that today as of recording, and it's really funny because someone has been cast as Cilla Black, which is great.
Okay.
Because that's that era, right? It's that era.
Yeah.
And then you've got 3 people as themselves, 2 of which are strictly dancing dancers as themselves. Okay. So that's going to be something in the modern day. And then Murray Gold as himself. So Murray Gold is the composer for Doctor Who from 2005 to 2017, and then from now onwards. And he's playing himself in the episode.
Okay.
So I don't know how that's going to work or how that's going to happen, but I'm gassed for it. Space Babies is a very sort of weird, sort of high concept thing, but I'm, again, game for it. But the Devil's Chord is going to be fun. The interesting thing about the list of credits, which I'm surprised they put this in there, it's quite obvious, but Susan Twist is going to be playing Tea Lady.
Wait, who's... Oh, wait, is this... Wait. who's Susan Twist and who's Tea Lady?
I'll tell you who. Well, Tea Lady, who fucking cares, right? I'll tell you who Susan Twist is, though, Cooper, because this is a bit of a little bit of a Doctor Who fandom rabbit hole. If you'll indulge me on telling you who Susan Twist is. Susan Twist was in Wild Blue Yonder playing Mrs. Merridew, the assistant to Isaac Newton. Susan Twist was also in the church on Ruby Road in the bar requesting a song to be played. Yeah. And Susan Twist is playing the Tea Lady in The Devil's Code, interestingly enough.
It's Clara.
No.
It's Clara too.
Susan Twist is playing a returning character who can appear at different points in time.
Yeah,
and we have no idea who that is, but I love it. I think people were theorizing this at the time, and they were like, oh, this is like a weird coincidence, but no, she is going to be something, and I am very interested to see what she's going to be.
Yeah.
A lot of people suggesting Meddling Monk, maybe a Time Lord or something. I don't know.
I love
fascinated.
this stuff like where they just like sprinkle it like...
But even though we know that's going to definitely become something, like how cool is that going to be then to go back and watch like Wild Blue Yonder and see this character just there interacting and just in the background, Mrs. Merridew. I love it. And then you've also got Mrs. Flood,
Ruby's neighbour, who was at the end of Ruby Road. Yeah. And she would just look down the camera like, "You ever seen Torch before?"
Yeah, so she's a returning character. She's going to be an ongoing one. We don't know who she's going to be. Yeah. And then we've got loads of other theories as well. So there's been a few theories recently which are saying a classic villain is going to return for the finale, called Sutek.
No idea.
So I actually haven't seen the classic story either. So I'm a little bit lost, but I have some understanding. Tom Baker story, Pyramids of Mars, this sort of ancient Egyptian god figure. Big ancient Egyptian mask. Very cool looking, but immensely powerful. And his aesthetic is like ancient Egypt. And in the finale, we can see sand everywhere in all the trailer stuff for the finale. And I think there was something in Doctor Who magazine, someone was like, oh, our like producer or something got the villain of the finale mixed up with Hercule Poirot, and obviously David Suchet played Hercule Poirot famously in British TV. It's like Suchet, Sutek. It's a very similar spelling. A lot of people are making that connection. There's a lot of things. Whether it'll happen or not, who knows?
Yeah,
but it's looking all right. This era is going into that sort of like gods and demons and stuff. I love that. I
like that, like the fantasy side. Like
I didn't really consider too much of it. I was like, I didn't really understand what they were going for. I was like, this is what Doctor Who's always been, but it hasn't. Doctor Who's always tried to make everything science fiction, everything alien.
Bringing fantasy into sci-fi, into Doctor Who sci-fi, is such a good idea.
Yeah, excellent. Like goblins. It's just like, they could be aliens. No, they're just goblins.
I do have to say it on record, the Goblin song fucking slaps. It goes so hard.
I have listened to it many a time. I do like it. It's a tune. I think it'll be so interesting, and obviously we're getting like again Jinx Monsoon's character Maestro in the Beatles episode is some sort of godlike figure. We're thinking their character is going to be one of the Toymaker's legions. There's a shot in one of the Disney Plus trailers where where they're wearing a sort of the Toymaker showman jacket that he wears in the Spice Up Your Life scene. They're wearing one of those, but in like a blue color. And obviously they're like a god. They play with music. People are theorizing that they're a god-like figure, like the Toymaker, but instead of playing by the rules of the game, they play by the laws of music. Right? Yeah. And I think that's really cool. It's quite cool. I really like that.
Having like the Toymaker is like a gateway. Like he's brought all these things.
It's a cool thing, isn't it?
He's brought himself into here, and he's brought all these different things with him, and he was just the first step.
It's like by David Tennant's Doctor invoking the whole salt thing on the edge of the universe. He's unleashed this new era of fantastical kind of villains and characters and ideas. There's so many mysteries,
lost through time kind of things. Yeah,
and I love that because Doctor Who season 1, for non-fans of the show already, you can really ease into it. It's there, it's brand new, it's a complete reset. But for fans, there are things that will hide in there throughout that you can go, oh shit, this is really cool. That's really sick. So I'm game for that, and I'm super excited. Everything
I've seen many of the. I mean, I've seen the trailer. I saw that. Deliberately watched the clips yesterday that came out, and they looked phenomenal.
You've seen the trailers and stuff.
Yeah. I tried to watch as many. Well, I tried to watch them when they come out. So,
I'm so excited.
I'm fucking buzzed. It'd be nice, like I said, it'd be nice to have it back. And I'm excited to see where. I'm probably more excited to see where it goes from the first season, if that makes sense.
Like it's the future of the show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like to see where the first season ends up, to see if they plant any more seeds in the first. Which
I feel they will.
I think from the trailers and from the rumors anyway, it sounds like they are planting they are potentially they have a lot of seeds to work with to plan.
Well, I love that, and it's like with Russell, like especially as a writer, and I know like a lot of people. There's a balance with Russell T Davies. I think a lot of people love him, like I do, and there's a lot of people who sort of criticize him and go, well, "He's great, but this," and I'm like, you know, I just trust him with Doctor Who so much. I feel like when he touches it, it's like, okay, some stuff is a bit like high concept, and in places a little bit too far. Like the whole bi-generation thing is great. Him going on a commentary track and going, well, in my opinion, every Doctor bi-generated along the timeline at the same time. And I'm like, oh, don't do that. That messes with a lot.
It's a absolute law fuck if you turn around and say that.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not in the show yet, so we'll just sort of cross our fingers. There's the whole thing with the memory TARDIS as well. Did you see that?
Oh, yes. There's some like
yeah.
Was it like... I didn't fully read into it, but I saw the photo. So
in the trailer, there's a shot of Ncuti screaming into the void, and in the original trailer, it's his TARDIS in the background, right? You can see him standing in the doorway of the box, and the interior is his TARDIS.
Yeah.
And there's another shot of another trailer, and it's his TARDIS. And there was one Disney Plus YouTube ad trailer, not like a proper full release one, but one that was on like a YouTube ad where it wasn't his TARDIS in the background.
I did see this.
And it was the memory TARDIS from a BBC iPlayer spin-off called Tales of the TARDIS that came out with the 60th last year.
Oh, yes.
This little mini-series. It's sort of an idea of like our companions and old Doctors are getting swept up and they get a chance to like talk again and all that sort of thing. In the background of that shot, you can also see Mel in the TARDIS with him. So there is a real interesting question there as to what has that got to do with things. There's mystery. That's what I like here, is that I'm going into the series going, what does this mean? What does that mean? How is that going to work? I love it. I love that, and I think Russell brings that out of it. It's sort of plot threads that are weaved early on.
That's what I want.
That's what I want.
That's what I want.
With Geordie's era, right? I'm not going to sit here and slag it off because like that era's had enough of that. But like, the Timeless Child thing was sewn in on the Ghost Monument, and that's great. But we don't see that for another like series and a half, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's a really good, effective use of doing that, right? But I think, for me, it's like that whole thing of like Mrs. Merridew rocking up, random character in Wild Blue Young that you don't think anything about.
Yeah.
And the same actress appears again in the Christmas special, and then it goes through this era.
And then again.
And you're like, what's going on? So it sort of builds it up over time, and you go back and watch those old episodes, and you have new appreciation for it. It's the same thing with River Song, right? We watch Silence of the Library, Forest of the Dead. We watch River Song's first appearance. We watch her die, and it's really good in the episode. It's better now because you go back 100%. And you're like, oh my god, the context of all of that is incredible. I love it.
Because you like, if no matter what, like, if the season is a setup season and it's not at the level that everyone wants it to be, people will cry no matter what.
No.
But
people will complain anyway. People will complain anyway.
Yeah,
some people will.
That's the thing. But the thing is, though, it's like you have to let it cook. You have to let him cook, and you have to let this. You have to have setup. You can't just. You either get a setup season, you get a load of really good setup, or we have another season of new Doctor, new companion. You get Cybermen, Daleks, fucking Weeping Angels.
I don't want
all
that.
the fan service needs, and we don't want that. I'd rather have.
I don't want that. I want it to be new. I want it to be refreshing.
I want it to be.
Bring back a classic character. Bring back a classic villain if you want to. Make it obscure. Toymaker, brilliant. Yeah, hasn't been seen since like 1965 or something.
Yeah,
brilliant. Just that sort of thing is perfect for me. Completely reinvent the character, make it interesting for the modern day. But for Uber fans, you can go back and watch that and go, "Oh, it's the same character." That's what you need to do more of.
I would love to have Ncuti's era, no matter how many seasons he does, whether it's 2, 3, 4, and have him have his first episode and his last episode perfectly feel like a perfect story arc. Have a thread. Yep, have a thread that works all the way through.
Yep, that's how it should be done. I think every Doctor should feel like their own era, and it should carry through, right? And with like Jodie, it kind of had that with the Timeless Child and that sort of thing. Didn't really feel like a satisfying resolution to it. Is the only thing, but with Matt Smith, it was the silence and the crack in space and time, and eventually all leading to Trenzalore. And then David Tennant, I don't think really had like a thread all the way through, but it sort of worked as is. So I'm interested to see how they go about that and what they do. But I'm excited. Doctor Who is back. And I'm very, very excited for it. Whatever time in the night it decides to air, I'm there and I will watch it.
I will be there no matter what.
I cannot wait.
Is it 2-episode premiere?
2-episode premiere. I'll be sat there at 2 o'clock in the morning being like,
I love a 2-episode premiere. I hate shows that drop everything at once. I hate it. I hate
2-episode premiere, and then it'll be. I
love a
2-episode
premiere.
6 weeks after that.
Yeah, 6 weeks after that. I love a 2-episode premiere. I think it works so well, especially like fucking hour-long episodes.
I'm so excited. I think it's going to be great. And you know what? We'll come back and do another Nostalgia Bit episode when we've actually seen the full season, and we'll talk about how we thought, what we thought about it, any highs, any lows, anything like that. But this is sort of our first proper Doctor Who episode. I feel like we've ticked that off. We've done that. Fingers crossed.
This age as well.
All those mad theories. Susan Twist actually isn't going to be anyone, and Sutek is just not going to be in it. Like, all those sort of mad theories.
We'll be back in 7 weeks where the show's being cancelled, and it was nice to
Don't say that. No.
Honestly, I have so much faith. Like, not that my like expectations are fucking through the roof, and not me saying my expectations are low, but it's like I'm at a nice level where it's like I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I think once it gets, obviously we're still a few weeks out from when we're recording this, give it like the week of, and then once I watch the first 2 episodes, I'll be completely locked in.
Love that.
Like, I'll know for a fact my YouTube recommendations will just be Doctor Who all the time.
Twitter,
all my TikTok, all of that. It'll completely take over.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that though. That's that excitement. And for me, it's like the year in, year out kind of thing, where every time it comes around to Doctor Who season, it's like I'm just locked in and ready to go. I love it unapologetically, and it's great. It's an event thing, and it has been since I was about 5 years old. I can't knock it. It's like every year of my life, that's just like a big thing. It's great, and I love it. And I think on that note, it's time to go to our only segment here on Nostalgia. Let's talk just news.
I don't know.
Little jingle there.
I almost went McDonald's, but we can't.
yeah. Copyright, mate. Come on.
Yeah, be careful.
If you are new here, this is our only segment here on Nostalgia Bit, where it's called Just News. We find a funny news story and read it to the other person. We take turns week in, week out, and we find a funny news story, and we sort of show it to the other person and kind of take them through it, and we kind of rat on it. And this week it's my turn to show Cooper a wonderful story that I found.
Come on then.
Did
you read the article?
I actually read a little bit of it this time.
Oh, it's improvement.
Honestly, even if I didn't, this is a phenomenal headline.
Okay.
Not to hype it up too much. Don't get too excited.
Okay, that's fine.
Are you ready? Yeah.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Do you remember recently, Cooper? There was a solar eclipse.
I was actually so gutted that we couldn't see it.
We couldn't see it in the UK, but it was over in America. It was over, and it was a massive thing, and it happens so rarely. It's a very, very exciting time.
Yeah.
So this is a story from Mexico, and the story is Mexican news channel accidentally airs man's testicles instead of solar eclipse.
Wait. Okay, let's wait. How first of all, someone has 100% lost their job without a doubt.
Yeah, no shit.
Come on.
Or
some people have definitely don't have their job anymore.
Mexican news channel accidentally airs man's testicles instead of solar eclipse. Now, before we get into the article, how do you think that happens? Because
I actually don't know. I was like, how the hell?
Maybe they couldn't see it like us in the UK, and they just thought, we'll just get a lamp, and then Barry, you just pop them out, and we'll... Okay. So, I'll read out the article. A Mexican media outlet made an awkward broadcasting error when covering the solar eclipse on Monday, April 8th. RCG Media's 24/7 news program had been using clips submitted by viewers during their coverage of the rare celestial event. Well, there's your first mistake.
Oh my god!
However, the show's host realised that they had been pranked by the viewer who'd sent in a shocking video to the news program. Oh my god, are we going to see it? Oh my god, we can't show it.
Oh my god!
But I mean, we can watch it. While the presenter was discussing the cities which had sightings of the eclipse, the images of the event were broadcast to viewers. The show presented images of the phenomenon in which the moon can be witnessed totally covering the sun. The segment was quickly cut when the hosts realised they had instead shown a video of a man blocking the sun with his testicles. Right, there is a video on this.
Watch the video.
Oh no! No! Is it bad?
Oh my god! Oh my
Hang on,
god!
I'm watching it now.
Oh my!
Got a light and
okay.
Oh,
I'm not being funny, right? I'm not being funny.
How do you allow that on national? It's so obviously bollocks.
Yeah, but why don't you have someone to veto? Like, why don't you have someone that watches the videos before they go live? Like any
that's
normal,
what I mean. That's what I mean.
Channel does.
Obviously it's blurring out on what I saw here.
Yeah,
but
still,
you could still see his fucking hairy legs. Christ, I mean, what is going? It's awful.
Surely.
For those interested on listening, there is a link in the description to this story. If you do so dare, it's probably it's all blurred, but it probably is a little bit not safe for work. It's unbelievable. You can see how. Oh, that's awful.
I don't understand why you don't like. If you have a system where viewers send in things, surely someone goes through them before they go live or they are used. It's like, what? Like why? Why not just have someone? Just pay someone, get like an intern or something, or an assistant to watch the videos beforehand. Like, what? Like what? I'm so confused. Just
human approval would be good.
Yeah,
that is just too funny. I didn't even see the video when I looked at this article for the first time, and I'm kind of glad because that's unreal. One of the hosts gasped. Yeah, no shit. As the realization set in, and the camera cut away to the studio, where another host explained how the video had been sent in by a fan. The broadcasters then went on to explain how mistakes like this can occur, particularly when dealing with footage sent in by viewers. Check it then! However, according to Indie 100, a Spanish news site, Vandal reported that the video is not new and had reportedly been around since 2017 when another eclipse took place.
I remember when that eclipse took place.
I thought you were going to say you remember the video.
That's me. I'm joking.
yeah. I know it's been around. I remember bloody filming it.
Actually, that's kind of weird. I was very young in 2017.
Yeah, bro. I mean, never mind.
No, I remember the eclipse in 2017 because I was in school.
Fair.
I remember it. Yeah. I remember it. We got let outside to witness it.
In other eclipse-related news, Jimmy Fallon and Hart performed a rendition of Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Brilliant. Anyway. I fucking hate Jimmy Fallon.
That's just a strange ending to that news article. I mean, bollocks and Jimmy Fallon, they have some sort of relation.
They do, because Jimmy Fallon talks bollocks. Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of Nostalgia Bait. I hope you very much enjoyed it. If you have, give us a cheeky little follow over on Spotify. Give us a little 5-star rating if you do fancy on your mobile devices. We've got loads of social medias. Mine and Cooper's are linked in the description below. We've also got an Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for the podcast, which you can follow right now to see all of our best clips and all of our best moments, posts, etc. Any teasers for upcoming episodes. A lot to look forward to. You can check out all our stuff from last week where we did 2 full episodes talking about Star Wars and a whole Star Wars Episode 9 script reading. You can check that out on the YouTube channel and here on Spotify. Everywhere. I don't know where you're listening to this, but yeah, anywhere you get your podcast, it is on there. Have a watch, have a listen, and hopefully, we'll see you all next week. I'm not going to tell them. I'll leave it as a surprise. You can wait and see. Stick around, and we will see you all next week.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. Very good. That's a good. I like that.